Hi everyone, welcome to Diana's Table. Well, as the weather gets cold, there are many things that I have to do to prepare for winter. And one of that is making mandu. Mandu, as you know, is a Korean word for dumpling. And I usually make mandu to last us for the months of December and January. So I would like to show you how I make really simple beef mandu today. And I hope you will try it today at home. So here are the ingredients you need to make mandu. Here I have an equal portion of ground beef and pork, minced ginger, minced garlic, a little bit of salt, soy sauce, sugar, and of course tofu, and I'll show you how you mash it up. Chopped onion, chopped green onions, and chopped cabbage, and it's been pre-salted, so I'll show you how we do that. And I use store-bought mandu skin. These days it's really nice and convenient because they have them already, made. And it's always nice to get the ones that are nice and thin. I don't really like to use the real thick ones. So, and you want to also keep the moisture by putting a wet towel over it. So here I have 2 cups of ground beef and ground pork mixed together. And I'm going to pre-season the meat so that all the seasoning will be in there before I start to mix the vegetables. So about 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of minced ginger, and then same 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, a little bit of pepper, and pinch of salt. And I'm going to mix it. And as I said, with any kind of marinade or seasoning, after you mix it, you should let it sit for about 30 minutes so that all the seasoning will go evenly into the meat mixture. Already you can smell the really nice soy sauce and the garlic and the seasoning mix. I think the meat will taste really nice and savory. So one of the most important ingredients you need in making mandu is tofu. And because tofu will bring all the meat and vegetables together. But it's also important to get all the water, drain water out of the tofu. So what I usually do is take a nice cotton dishcloth like this, and you just really have fun, mash up the tofu when you put it in here. Pull it together and squeeze tight to get all the, do you see the water coming out? You need strong hands. Okay. So here it is. It's almost like that cheese. It looks like ricotta cheese here. So I want to show you how you can chop the cabbage. It's important to chop it into fine pieces. I usually like to get the inside, remove the inside out, because you can use that separately. So you cut it in half like this. This way it's, becomes nice and flat. So you're able to slice it easily. And then you turn it around and then make it into little pieces like this. Because it goes into the mandu, it's important to have them, very small You don't want it to be too big. And so after you chop about 2 cups of the cabbage, I usually put a little bit of salt and sugar to pre-salt the cabbage. Here I have the cabbage that's been already salted with salt and sugar, and I let it sit for 30 minutes, and you see how much water there is. So again, it's very important to squeeze the water out of the cabbage before you put it into the beef, the meat base. So into the seasoned meat, I'm going to add probably 2 cups of the cabbage, salted cabbage. You have to just make sure that you have the equal amount of cabbage to the beef. And then the tofu that's been also drained, I add a cup of tofu. A cup of chopped onion, and a cup of chopped green onions. So notice how all the vegetables and meat and everything, they're all basically sort of the same size here. Now I'm going to mix it all together. So I'm going to show you how you make the mandu actually. You take 1 skin, a tablespoonful of the stuffing. And the way I close it is I take some water and I wet just the outside, like this. Right? And you fold it into like a half moon. Then you close it with your thumb really tight, like that. And push the skin together. This is like what we call the basic mandu. Mandu making 101. Okay, so we want to move on to the second level. And I want to show you how we usually make it. And that's like, I learned to make that when I was in elementary school. So we do the same thing. And here, you put only the top, right in the middle. And you squeeze it together. And you take your thumb and forefinger and you make a little tuck here with your left hand as well. So do you see how you get the little pleat? And do the same. So you have a little bit of a mandu with little pleats. So and this is sort of our basic meat mandu. So here again, you make a little tuck. And then on the left hand side, I'm going to make 2 more styles just to show how it can be done. So again, you wet the skin on the side. And you make the basic half moon here. And then you take at the one corner, you wet the outside, and you make a tuck here to make a little dumpling. As you can see, there is like different shapes. These are really great for like stews and pan frying. Obviously, because of the shape, I like to use these kind of shape for in a soup, dumpling in a soup. This is the shape that we use for steaming the mandu. And you do the, again, right in the middle, but here you take the other corner and make a tuck like this with a, how should I explain it, like a little envelope. And again, here. Don't worry about the little hole right in the middle, because it's really good to have that hole. Because when you steam it, it's nice to have the steam come out. So, you know, these are sort of the basic, a real basic way of making mandu. So I want to show you a couple ways to eat your meat mandu. Easiest way, obviously, is to pan fry it to medium high. Add a little bit of cooking oil. So while it's medium high, you put the mandu in. Let me see. And you lower the heat to medium because you don't want the mandu to burn. Do you hear the sizzle? And you don't want it to burn, so you have to sort of, you know, check it to make sure that it's not burning on the bottom. It's nice. Wait until it gets golden brown. Then after about a minute, you flip it over to the other side. See how it's gotten little brown spots? This is good. Then flip it for the last time over to its original side. See? I think a minute is perfect. You see I had the little brown spots. So this way, the mandu skin, because you're pan frying it in oil, stays crispy. But because we are also worried that the meat is not cooking well all the way through in this form, we're now going to add a little bit of water, and just really make sure that when you add water, you have the cover ready. Okay, so I'm going to add water and be careful that it doesn't splatter. Right? Okay. So the steam from the water will make sure that the mandu is fully cooked, and it will, you know, still stay crispy, but really nice, soft and chewy inside. You let it cook until all the splattering it stops. Right? So I'm going to turn off the heat. This is just perfectly brown right now. Okay? So I wanted to get that brown color on the other side as well. And the other side will cook even with the stove turned off. The pan is hot enough. This way you prevent the other side from being burned. I think it's ready. So what do you do with all the leftover vegetables after you make the mandu? And what I usually like to do is make mandu stew. So I will show you how you can make simple mandu stew. You have the onions, and I cut the onions into slices like this. The carrots, because it's going to be in a broth, you don't have to cut them very thin. It's nice to be able to have big enough sizes to chew on. And the zucchinis again. And actually I had some leftover Napa cabbage leaves. So cut them into big size chunks. Napa cabbage in any kind of stew really adds 시원한 taste. I don't know. In Korean, you say like cool, but actually it really adds to the broth, and it makes the broth taste really nice and fresh. And then I'm going to add the mushrooms. And one of the things that I like to use, this is actually kimchi that I made last December. It's an almost a year old kimchi. And I've taken all the kimchi stuffing out, and so it doesn't mess up the broth. So just take the top portion. And then I'm going to cut it once more across. This will add spice, but also kimchi and mandu. It's a really harmony. It's very good for stews. And I'm going to add the mandus on top here. I'm using the meat mandu, but you can use vegetable mandus or seafood mandus, whatever. I'm going to turn the heat on to medium high. And this is the dashi broth, so I'm just going to pour over. You don't want the broth to be too deep, too high, because you'll get the water from the vegetables. So you want at least maybe an inch from the top. And after it boils a little bit, I'll just add the onions, and it'll be done.